Episode 5 of Season 6 of My Hero Academia. My ideas are literally insane, but either way, let's go talk about it. Hello, beautiful human. Welcome to Kick Up Flicks, and let me tell you something about Shigaraki attaining All for One. I think it is literally insane. And what do I mean by that? He has the natural affinity to use all the powers that All for One has ever attained. Now, I wonder if there's a limit on how many powers he can physically hold, but either way, for him to make it feel as if he naturally had it his whole entire life is a huge advantage that not many people are ready for. Let's think about this for a second. Did All for One implant his own mind in Shigaraki to eventually take it over, so therefore his existence can continue to the next generation? I think that's a huge possibility. That means he was grooming Shigaraki since a kid and, used him way further than anybody had ever thought, primarily because of his own power. Setting that aside, and knowing that Eraser is kind of temporarily disabling his power, let's talk about his physical prowess now. And he has a huge advantage over Deku right now. Now think about it like this. When Shigaraki uses his super strength now, his physical body changes to withstand the amount of pressure it will take to use his superhuman strength. That lets him take a whole lot more damage and dish out damage at the same exact time, especially since he can move himself in the air willingly, which even Endeavor can't move like that in the air without really heating up and eventually burning out. So that's what's kind of putting him down on the pedestal back to like number 2 if Shigaraki was a hero. Setting that aside though, let's go over to Deku real quick. Deku, as far as we know, can only use 30% of his power, 45% at the very last second to reduce the amount of damage, which only translates to the simple fact is that at 45%, if he was to use it 100% of the time, he would probably still shatter his bones, which would then put him out of a fight and make him a liability. Now, because he's able to use 45% at the very last second, he's still slow at 30%. But he still can't take as much damage when it comes to Shigaraki, as an example, because he's able to increase the density inside his body, which then that also made me think of All Might. Now think about All Might before he received One for All. Was he able to transform his body naturally into a bigger person that we see him in his superhuman form? If so, when he received the power All for One, did that get attached to All for One, and can that eventually be transferred into Deku? If not, why would he generally pass off that power knowing that Deku was going to be at a huge disadvantage? Because once you know that the person you chose to be the next in line is literally destroying his body the whole entire time, that's kind of crazy, because that's only slowing him down compared to everybody else. Now, granted, he has a huge advantage, and I understand that he is still young, but Bones can only take so much, and it's not like you can just say, hey, Bones, just get more denser, or you just need to build more muscle. There's always going to be a limit on how far the physical body can go. Now, granted, he is going to have other powers that are going to come along with it, but it doesn't seem like it's anything that has to deal with muscle density. So that was like my kind of question with All Might. Do you know that answer to that question? Primarily because, I don't know, that's just a thought that I had, and it's just kind of there. Like, did All Might have the ability to transform to that huge physical form, or did he get it from One for All? But moving on from there, I believe the heroes have a huge problem. And the huge problem is this. You take a hero that is good at fighting, and if they lose their power, you stop using them. Why? Think of Millennium for example. He had wonderful tactics when it came to fighting Overhaul. Even though he really didn't have his power later on and it put his body at a disadvantage, why can't you use him as a strategist? Because he's very smart. And then going over to Ragdoll, who also lost the power Search. So what? You're telling me you spent years as a hero and you never really learned how to use your own thoughts when it came to learning from your own powers? Or does powers make you everything and anything? I mean, the villains use their minds more than their powers all the time. It's like they set everything up, and then when they need to fight, they will fight. But confrontation's never their first goal. Their first goal is to set everything up secretly and, as quietly as possible before they break in the front door if necessary. So I think that's where the heroes have a huge disadvantage, is primarily because whenever a superhero stops using their powers, they don't seem to be using them anymore. And or if they are using them, well, guess what? They're not really showing it. And that probably is where I have that train of thought. It doesn't mean that they're not heroes anymore and they're probably not getting paid, but we know for a fact that temporarily, as far as the show is concerned, they're not on the field. So that was episode 5. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you like and you sit around for this long, thank you so very much. And don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and click that bell notification. And more importantly, don't forget to kick up and not down. I'll see you the next time I post. Peace.